We continue now at the top of Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis in Meseches Rosh Hashana. This is Rosh Hashana Daf 11b. The Gemara here continues quoting the pasuk in Tehillim, Eidus b'Yosef Samo b'Tzeiso. He placed a testimony in Yosef when he went out over Mitzrayim. In other words, the pasuk which referenced the blowing of the shofar, which referenced Rosh Hashana, is also talking about the fact that Yosef got out of prison, as Rashi over here says. Eidus b'Yosef Samo Basrei Dahu Kroksiv. It's at the end of this pasuk. After this pasuk, it says the Chichak L'Yisrael. That pasuk of Chichak L'Yisrael, it concludes with Eidus Yosef Sama B'Tzeiso, again indicating that Yosef got out of prison on Rosh Hashana. And again, the Gemara now continues Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. But Rosh Hashana Batla Avoda Me'avoseinu B'Mitzrayim. It was on Rosh Hashana that our forefathers stopped the slavery. They stopped their slavery in Mitzrayim. Ksivach, the pasuk says over here, V'otzeisi Eschem Mitacha Sivlos Mitzrayim. I'm going to take you out from the burdens of Mitzrayim. Uchsiv Hasam, and it says over there, Hasirosi Miseval Shechmo. This is also written the same place where Yosef gets out of prison. It uses the same language of Sevil, so we make a comparison. Just like Yosef got out of prison on Rosh Hashana, so too the slavery stopped in Mitzrayim on Rosh Hashana. And the Gemara continues explaining Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. B'Nisan Nigalu, in Nisan they were redeemed from Mitzrayim. K'di'isa, that's explicit in the pasuk. B'Tishrei Asidin Ligal, but in the future redemption will be in Tishrei. Asya shofar, that we learn out from a Gzera Shava of the word shofar. Ksiv Hacha, it says over here, Tiku B'Chodesh shofar. Again, that's a reference to the blowing of the shofar on Rosh Hashana in Tishrei. Uksiv Hasam, and it says over there, by Yom Yitaka b'Shofar Gadol, on that day of the future redemption, he will blow a great shofar. So again, we make a comparison, and we understand that the future redemption will be in Tishrei. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yoshua says, B'Nisan Nigalu, in Nisan they were redeemed, B'Nisan Asidin Ligal, and in the future, that future redemption will also be in Nisan Menolan. From where do we know that? Amar Cross, because the pasuk says, Leil Shimurim. It says it's a night of watch. What it means to say is, Leil HaMishumar Uba Misheshas Yimei Bereshis. This is the night that was designated from the Sheshas Yimei Bereshis, meaning it's the night that is designated for redemption, not only the redemption from Mitzrayim, but also the future redemption. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, and the other opinion who says that we're redeemed in Tishrei, not in Nisan in the future. So what the pasuk means is, Laila HaMishumar Uba Min HaMazikin. It means this is a night where we're protected from the Mazikin, from the damagers, from the demons. And the Gemara continues, V'yazdu l'tamayu, and both Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, they follow according to their reasoning. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, B'shnas sheish meo shana l'chai Noach, it was in the 600th year of Noach's life, B'chodesh Hasheni, in the second month, B'shiva asar yom l'chodesh, on the 17th day of the month. Rabbi Yoshua says, Oso hayom yud zayin be'ir haya. Rabbi Yoshua says that day was the 17th of Iyar. Again, this follows Rabbi Yoshua's opinion that the world was created in Nisan. Yom shemazul kima shokeya b'yom umayonos mismatin. That is the day that the mazel of kima, it sets during the day, and the springs, they have less water. And Rabbi Yoshua continues, mitoch shashinu maaseh, and since the generation of the Mabul, they corrupted their ways, so Shina HaKadosh Baruch Hu aleim ma'aseh bereisha, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu corrupted the ways of nature. V'hela mazel kima bayom, he brought up the mazel of kima during the day. V'not al shnei kochavim mikima, he took 2 stars from kima. V'hevi mabul la'olam, and he used those to bring the mabul to the world. Rabbi Eliezer says the world was created in Tishrei. So also hayom yod zayin b'marcheshvan haya. This day that the Mabul began was the 17th of Marcheshvan. Yom shemazel kima ola b'yom. That's the day that the mazel of kima actually rises during the day. Umayanos miskabrim, and there's plenty of water in the springs. And Rashi over here explains, V'yazdu l'tamayu, they follow their reasoning, meaning Rabbi Eliezer of Rabbi Yoshua, meaning Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua follow their reasoning in their explanation of the Mabul when it comes to when the world was created. To Rabbi Eliezer b'tishrei nivra olam, because again, according to Rabbi Eliezer, the world was created in Tishrei. The mitishrei maschilin minyan shnei adoros. That means that from Tishrei is when we begin to count the years of the different generations. Lafikach, therefore, Mabul al karchach b'marcheshvan yarad. So the Mabul ended up beginning in Marcheshvan. That's the second month, the month right after Tishrei. V'yud beis chodesh haya, it took a total of 12 months. Uvachodesh hasheni b'shiva v'yesrim sheyav sha'aretz b'marcheshvan haya l'shana haba. The second month, on the 27th of the month, that's when everything dried. That was again in Marcheshvan of the next year. Uvitishrei shalafanav, in the Tishrei right before that, Charvu hamayim me'al haaretz, that's when the water dried from the land. Shenasis haaretz came in grid v'lo yav shalagamri, in other words, the land dry but not fully dry. Uboas cholas shnas sheish meos ve'achashana, that Tishrei was the beginning of the 601st year. Kedichsiv, like the pasuk says, Vahi ba'achas v'sheish meos shana, barishon be'echad lachodesh. It says in the 601st year, that's to the age of Noach, it was on the first month, the first of the month, v'hu Tishrei, and that of course refers to Tishrei. And Rashi continues, umidalo kari le'achas v'sheish meos ad hashta, from the fact that we don't refer to it as the 601st year until this point, meaning until Tishrei. Shema minoin minyan hadoros mi Nisan, you see that we don't count the generations and the years of individuals from Nisan. Shemi Nisan maschil nimnosan, because if we would count it from Nisan, hayelo lichtov atonach hateva be'achas v'sheish meos shana b'chodesh hashvi al harei Ararat. Already when the Teva rested on the mountains of Ararat, that should have already been the 601st year. Shekvar nischad shana mi Nisan, because it should be a new year from Nisan. Sharei oso chodesh shvi sivan haya, that 7th month that we're talking about, where the Teva rested on the tops of the mountains, that's actually talking about Sivan. V'hu shvi la'afsak as keshamim, it means it's the 7th month from when the rain actually stopped. Kemosha shaninu b'seder olam, that's what is taught in Seder Olam. V'ahi Rabbi Eliezer, he, and that statement over there follows Rabbi Eliezer, shekshata monem mishiva asar b'marcheshvan meya v'tishem yom, because if you count from the 17th of Marcheshvan, 190 days, arboim limei geshamim, you have 40 days of the actual rain, umeya v'chamishim shegavru al aretz, then you have another 150 days that the water was strong on the earth. Nimtzu kolim be'echad b'sivan, it comes out, that stops on the 1st of Sivan. V'yoso yom hischilu lachzor, it's exactly on that day that the water begins, the level of the water begins to go down. Shenemar, like it says, Vayachsra mayim miksei chamishim u'ma'asiyom, after this 150 days, the water begins to diminish. Vayohalach v'chasar ad chodesh ha'asiri, it begins to diminish until the 10th month. V'u'av, and that refers to Av shu'asiri liyiridas kashamim, it's the 10th month from the rain falling down. U'v'yachod ba'av niru rasha yaharim, it was on the 1st of Av that the mountains could be seen, the tops of the mountains. B'shnei chodashim tasru tesvav amma, in 2 months it went down 15 amos. Shayu haharim mechusim mayim, the mountains were covered with water. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Chomesh esrei amma lamadata shechasra amma li'arba yom, again it went down an amma every 4 days. V'ateva haisam meshukas b'mayim achas esrei amma, the teva was in the water 11 amos deep into the water. V'lo haisat safa rosh harel dalet amos, so it was only 4 amos over the top of the highest mountains. Gova lefikach nacha b'yadzayin b'sivan, that's why by the 17th of Sivan already the teva ended up resting on the top of the mountains. Well, Rabbi Yoshua damar ben Nisan nivra olam, now according to Rabbi Yoshua, who says that in Nisan the world was created, so everything will be the same calculation, but from Nisan instead of Tishrei. Umimenu maschilin minyan shnei hadoros, from there, that from the month of Nisan is where we count the years of the generations, meaning the age of Noach. So Yard hamabel be'Iyar, so then the Mabel, it ends up that it began in Iyar, again that's the 2nd month, the month right after Nisan. Ushvisha nacha bo hateva hu Kislev, when the Teva came to rest in the 7th month, that refers to Kislev. V'lo mana lach hakasav chidashana lefi she'ein hashana mischadeshes ala b'Nisan, according to Rabbi Yoshua, it's not a new year when Tishrei comes around, because the new year starts in Nisan. And Rashi says, "V'yesh posrin va'azu l'taimam mido'amar v'lazar b'chodesh sheni marcheshvan islay b'tishrei nivrei olam." Some people say more simply, from the fact that Rabbi Eliezer says the 2nd month is marcheshvan, so it must be that Rabbi Eliezer holds that in Tishrei the world was created. V'havi marcheshvan sheni l'chodesh she'ischilu bo shnas sheish meos. And so it comes out that Marcheshvan is the 2nd month of the month from where we're counting the 600 year. Because if not for this, what's it sheni to? Because if you're saying it's the 2nd month, it's not the 2nd month, because the 2nd month we count the number of months. The 1st month is always Nisan. But Rashi says, V'lav milsehi. That's not really the proper explanation of this Gemara. If just from the fact that it's called Sheni, that's how we know that in Tishrei the world was created. Imkain, if so, my parach lekameh. So what does the Gemara mean later on when it asks Bishlam Rabbi Yoshua Hainu Dichsev Sheni, that it makes sense according to Rabbi Yoshua that it's called Sheni, El Rabbi Eliezer my Sheni, but according to Rabbi Eliezer why it's called Sheni? Hamehacha Yalef Sheni Lebrias Olam. We're saying right over here it's the 2nd to the Brias Olam, so it can't simply be from the fact that it's called Sheni. Rather, it's like Rashi explained before, it has to do with how we count the generations. Are we counting it according to Tishrei, or are we counting it using Nisan? And Rashi continues, Hachi Garsinan b'Seder Olam, and Seder Olam, the gears of the text is as follows. Rabbi Yoshua Bereishav Hadar Rabbi Eliezer. First we go through Rabbi Yoshua's opinion, then we go through Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. Rabbi Yoshua Omer also Hayom Yud Zayin Be'Ior Haya, that Rabbi Yoshua says, again, the Mabul began in Ior, again, because the world was created in Nisan, according to Rabbi Yoshua. Yom Shemazal Kima Shokea B'Yom, that's the time, that's the day where the Mazel of Kima is setting during the day. Rashi will explain this. Rabbi Eliezer Omer also Hayom Yud Zayin B'Mar Cheshvan Haya. Rabbi Eliezer says, no, it was the 17th of Mar Cheshvan. Yom Shemazal Kima Ola B'Yom. That's the day where the Mazel of Kima is going up during the day. And so now Rashi explains how the Mazolos, how the zodiac works. Gal Gal Chama Ogulhu. So he says that the revolution of the sun, it goes in a circle around the earth. Chetzio Lamalim and Akarka. So half of it, it's half the time the sun is above the land, we see the sun. The Chetzio Lamatim and Akarka, and half the time it's below the land, meaning we don't see the sun. Ushnei Masr Mazolos Kivun Bo, and the 12 zodiac signs. So they are fixed to that same thing. They're going around in the same way the sun is going around. V'zeh Sidron, they go in the following order: Teleh, Shor, Te'umim, Sirton, Aryeh, Besula, Moznayim, Akrev, Keshes, Gedi, Dali, Dogim. Again, those are the 12 zodiac signs. V'simonich, the way to remember it is Teshas, Sa'av, Ma'ak, Gedad. Again, that's Teleh corresponding to the Tes. The Shin corresponds to Shor, etc. These are the 12, again, the 12 signs of the zodiac. Shisha mehen shekuin lamata. At any one point in time, you're going to have 6 of them below. They're not going to be visible. The shisha mehem lamala, and at that same point in time, 6 of them will be above. Ukshagalgal megalgal, and when everything is circling around, zeh ola mitzad zeh. So this one's going to come up. V'harishon shebetzad acher shokei, and the one that's on the other side is actually going to set. It's going to disappear. You're always going to see 6, and there are going to be 6 that are out of view. V'chein laolam. That's how it works forever. Ushtei shows shoah hamazal baliyasa. Now it's for 2 hours that the mazel comes up. V'chein shekenegdo b'shiku, and the other one on the other side is setting for 2 hours. Sheyukulon mishamshin b'chaf dalid shows b'yom. So therefore it's going to come out. That's how they go through 24 hours of the day. Uvenisan liolam teleh maschil lalos leor haboker. And in Nisan, it's always going to be tleh that's going to come up in the morning. So in other words, it's going to come up for 2 hours, and then the next one's going to come up. So if you have 12 of them, and they're each going for 2 hours, so to speak, so that ends up being 24 hours. And Mak Gedad Lamala Belayla. Rashi says that in Nisan you have the ones by the acronym Mak Gedad, they're the ones that are visible at night, and Teshas Sa'av Lamata, and that's when the Teshas Sa'av ones they're below, you can't see them, and L'or HaBoker, and then in the morning Maschil Teleh Lalos, that's when the zodiac of Teleh, that's when it begins to rise, Umoznayim Lishkoa, that's when Moznayim begins to set, Lasof Beis Shos, after 2 hours Teleh Kulo Ola, the entire Teleh has risen, Umoznayim Kulo Shokea, Moznayim has completely set, Achar Shtei Shos Maschil Shor Lalos, and then that's when Shor begins to rise, V'akrev Lishkoa, and Akrev begins to set, V'chein Kula, and that's how all of them work. Kol Chodesh Nisan, that's how it always works in the month of Nisan. Be'Ior, now in the month of Ior, Shor Maschil L'Shamish B'Yom, it's Shor that is the first one to rise during the day. Kol Yemei Ior, that happens all of the days of Ior. Uv'shtei Shos, Harishonos Gomer Aliyah, so again, in the first 2 hours, it completes its rise. Shenios Te'umim, Shalisha Sirton, Revi'is Aryeh, Chamishas Besula, V'shishas Moznaim, and again, the same basic order. V'chein Kulan, that's how it works by all of them. Nimtza Teleh Ola B'shtei Shos, Achronos B'Layla. So it comes out in the month of Iyar that Tleh is going to be rising in the last 2 hours of the night. V'chol hayom hu shokeh, and the entire day it is set. And now Rashi explains what this kima is. The kima hu zanav Tleh. Kima is actually the tail of the zodiac Tleh. V'hamabul biyom yarad. And the Mabul actually descended during the day. V'derech nekev shtei kochavim. And there was a hole that was placed in 2 of these stars of Kima. Shenotlu mikima, they were taken from Kima. Shu mazel sheyesh bo kochavim harbe. Because this is a mazel that had many stars, and again, 2 stars were removed. And that, again, it's at this tail of that zodiac of Tleh. That's how the Mabul began. Now, how do we know that the Mabul began during the day? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, "B'etzem hayom hazeh banoach." It was during the heart of this day that Noach came. He didn't really believe. So he didn't go into the teva until the water started coming down. That forced him to enter the teva. Like it says, because of the waters of the Mabul. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph.